How really forgiving is made possible. How do you really forgive? This is the topic today that I want to share on. And I remember years ago wanting to do the right thing, but I was really cheesed off with some situation that had happened. I had lots of feelings and emotions. I didn't know how to process them then. And I remember walking down the corridor and adding to those feelings and emotions by getting really angry and frustrated because I wanted to forgive, but I couldn't forgive. So I remember yelling out to my creator God and saying, what am I supposed to do? Like, I want to forgive, but I can't. It just keeps coming back in my face all the time. And every time I think about that situation and that person, I feel the hurt again. And I didn't know what to do. Well, so as the years went on, and as you've heard today on this seminar, we've learnt now to ask the wonderful counsellor to help us. And I'm going to talk about that as I go through, because what I realised is I wasn't in touch with my own feelings in relationship to that hurt and that unforgiveness that I felt for that person. I didn't know how to process my anger. I didn't know how to I didn't even know what I was feeling. So we've learned over the years, 20 years, that we ask the divine counselor, the wonderful counselor, the one who knows us inside out, who lives inside all of you, doesn't matter what you've done or not done, who's there to reveal the feelings and to reveal your beliefs and then reveal the truth. And not only the incredible thing is not only do the feelings, as you hear the truth in those beliefs, but you have to have them revealed. And then you listen to the truth and to the light, the feelings and emotions dissolve. And in the end, you can actually turn to compassion. This is the gift that you can have from this sharing today and from the meditation that will follow, which will be separately recorded. And you can just go through that yourself, guided by wisdom, love, truth, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, whoever you relate to. I remember reacting all the time. You know when you get cheesed off and you get angry at somebody and you get stuck like that? I'm wondering if anyone here reacts rather than responds. Now, what I used to do was react, but when I reacted, it would be like firecracker going off, because it would just all come out at once. Why? Because I used to suppress all my feelings when I felt forgiveness towards somebody, when I was resentful, angry, hurt, hateful towards somebody. I used to push it down because I didn't want to feel like that. And then somebody would touch something in that memory and I would just go off like a firecracker. And I remember one day when I was meditating, the Holy Spirit gave me an image, and this is what the words that came to me were. He said, I don't want you to be like a firecracker. I don't want you to be like a sparkler. I want you to be like a candle with a soft, glowing flame. That makes it safe for other people to come into relationship with you when you don't have this negative energy sitting down there, the unforgiveness, unresolved stuff, ready to go off. And I remember thinking about and pondering over that candle and thinking, that's how I want to be. Just present to others, present to myself, present to wisdom within me. I want to be able to process my feelings and get him to show me what I'm doing, which he's done for years and years now. And I can do it now on the spot. And that's one of the things I want to share with you today. Once you begin to do this, there's some of the stories I'll tell you about, is that you can do on the spot forgiveness. How do you do on the spot forgiveness? And this is when you actually get more present to yourself, which I eventually did. I would just be aware, because I was spending time every day being still. Instead of running outside of myself, I became present to myself. and to the one within me, I became more present, more aware of the anger that would rise up when somebody would start saying something or doing something. And for instance, I'll give you an example on the spot. It's sort of like forgiveness, really. It's about mercy, really. I was having a game of golf the other day. I'm not a golfer. I just went out because I want to get out in the green and do something different for 9 holes. And these two guys we played with, never met before. My husband and I were playing together with them. And the guy that was with me a fair bit of the time didn't stop complaining and criticizing and judging his partner. And he just had one sling off. Isn't it the Australian way? One sling off after the other, after the other. They've known each other for 40 years. And it actually made me feel uncomfortable. He was a little bit like that firecracker, but in a and it just pulled me back. And then I didn't do something right, and he had a go at me. And anyway, so once upon a time, I would have really been angry at him, and I would have begun to do a lot of dialogue in my head about what I felt and thought about him. But I was aware in this instance that he was not how he wasn't his best self, and it wasn't doing me any good or anyone else. So I just forgave him for his attitude straight away on the spot. I just said, I forgive him for the way he's speaking, what he's doing, what he's saying, and I ask you to help him. Now that's a key. On the spot is that you recognize when somebody's doing something that is totally inappropriate and really creating energy, bad energy. And I did that. Now, the story went on, and it was just fantastic what happened. As a result of me not getting into the internal dialogue of also judging and condemning him, because that's what human nature does, it just multiplies out. I chose to ask for grace for him. I asked for God's forgiveness, and I forgave him just a little while. And then as the game went on, I noticed he began to change. His whole attitude began to change towards me as I just blessed him and asked for grace for him, for help for him. He stopped criticizing the other guy. In fact, instead of criticizing me for not doing the right thing, he started to be my encourager. And right towards the end of the 9 holes, this is how things can happen so quickly, on the spot forgiveness. I was going to tee off, and now I'm not really a golfer. I just like walking on the green, really, and having a go. He came over to me, said to me, have a go at this one. And he gave me his great big golf, I think it's called a big slammer, like it was huge. And I thought, you're now coming over to me, not only to be my encourager, to help me, and you're giving me one of your best, biggest clubs. And I hit the best shot. He was delighted and I was delighted. Now, and we went off, and I thoroughly enjoyed his company in the end. That's on the spot, dealing with not reacting, not having a go at him, not judging and condemning him. That's a result of me being present and aware and thanking my angel for just stopping me before I react and respond. Do you like that? It's a tiny little story, but those little stories go on all the time with the people you live with, your neighbours, the people up the street. On the spot forgiveness. Forgive them for their attitude. Pray for them. Ask Jesus to stand between, well, I do that, between you and them, and ask him to help them. And it stops you getting into their bad attitude and becoming just as you judge, so will you be judged, as you know. Now, the power beyond us to really forgive. Sue's father abused her physically over and over again. She felt helpless, powerless, ashamed. She believed it was her fault and she was responsible. And then she took on the roles of guarding and protecting herself. Now that's normal. When we've been hurt, most of us take on the roles of being a guard, a protect. You can tell. You can tell yourself by you get tense and you tend to guard and protect. You become self-righteous. You do all sorts of things to survive as a result of the unresolved feelings of shame and guilt and feeling dirty and helpless in her case. As I asked her, what did she want? She said, I want to forgive. But she said, I can't. So this is a very deep, deep one. How can you forgive what is so unjust, so wrong? But she wanted to be free of it because it was just repeating and coming back to her over and over again in her mind and her heart. So I've shared this before. This is years ago. And I said, what do I do? Silently to the wonderful counselor. And he said, and this is, I believe, Jesus, say she can take on my power on the cross, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And even if they do, he's saying to forgive. But with his capacity, that doesn't sound like much. But when you try that, even if that is one thing from today, the capacity to forgive after you've dealt with your feelings and your beliefs. And I said, are you willing for me to ask for that? She said, yes. And that instance, I said, please let that your forgiveness flow through her. You have to ask. I watched and looked at her and I saw this incredible release within her that she hadn't been able to do in humanity. And I said, now look at the situation, the memory. What's it like now? She said, it's just a memory. I don't have any feelings. I don't have any thoughts. It is just a reality that it happened, but I don't feel dirty, ashamed, guilty, helpless. I don't feel like it's my fault. And I think she felt a weight come. Usually you feel a weight come off your back because you no longer feel like you've got to protect and guard yourself because you feel like you're in the presence of unconditional love. That space that was filling up all of those emotions was filled with the presence of mercy and love. The present, which is just beyond us. That's the power beyond us to really forgive. Jane's father was the same. She came to a seminar and she just told me that her father had abused her, criticized and judged her all her life. Anyone here ever felt like they've been judged or condemned either by someone outside of them, or maybe you've done it to yourself? We're very good at doing that because we either turn on people or we turn on ourselves. We need to let go of that. Anyway, so again, huge amounts of confusion, anger. And when the meditation I'm going to take you through, you'll have actually might be able to experience it. But in her case, because the anger and the rage, understandably, and remember, Jesus was in rage when the temple was abused, so he understands what rage is. I asked his rage, her rage and her anger to be joined with his. And then I asked, how could she be released from this? How could she express what she wanted to do to her father? I said, just in your mind's eye, have a look. And this is a way, in the presence of God, it's a confession, just what she'd like to do to her father as a result of it was a block. And she couldn't get through into a place of peace. And she opened her eyes after a while and she said to me, almost a sense of shame, but she said, you know what I wanted to do? But she said, I know that Jesus showed me and I gave me permission to say it so I could get rid of it. So I didn't do it. She said, I wanted to chop his head off. I felt so enraged and so upset, but she did it in the presence of God. She did it. He revealed it. She did it. And I said, what's the anger and rage like now? And she said, it's all gone. So I said, you need to forgive your father. Have a look at him now. She said, when I look at my father now in my mind's eyes, she said, under the guidance of the Spirit of truth, now I let my feelings and beliefs be revealed. She said, I feel compassion for him. Her rage and anger had gone to compassion. I said, you need to forgive him. This is big. This is huge. This is all her life. She said, I don't. I actually feel sorry for her. So when you bring your heart and your emotions and your beliefs again and again when you get stuck and listen, allow yourself to express your anger, my God, it doesn't even need forgiveness because you're in compassion. And this is a three-way perspective which helps you get unclogged. And I've got story after story, and I'm aware of the time to just share with you And there was, oh yeah, that's right. There was a young lady, and this is only a brief one. Recently, this is a recent one. It's a new one, and I always have opportunity to forgive before I do a topic. I always have lots of experiences, and this one was about a young lady I'd helped out a great deal because she had everything in her life had just began to really melt down, and in her case, I'd been there a fair bit and helped her get on her feet, and in all sorts of ways. And then apparently I had let her down by, I don't know, not saying the right thing, not doing the right thing, or whatever. And she was, I'd apologized to her about forgetting her birthday. And then out came this tirade of all the things that I'd done wrong. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And I had this opportunity to say sorry, genuinely, because I had no idea that she was feeling hurt by it. But because I didn't react and respond and didn't go into the, oh my God, would you think she'd be grateful? I mean, that's how I used to respond, react at least. But rather than, I just listened. And I thought, I'm not sure she's got unrealistic expectations of me because I'm very human, but I did get an opportunity to say, sorry, forgive me. And next thing she starts to get upset because because I had listened and I had said sorry, because I'm very human. Please don't have unrealistic expectations of me. She began to open up and she went into a deep, dark area of her mind where she had felt shocking and she felt like she was useless and nothing, etc. Had the most incredible, as she expressed the feelings and beliefs, had the most incredible breakdown, and her whole being softened rather than being a bit like that. So you're going to get lots of opportunities in life, like I do, to say sorry or forgive. What I want to do, true justice for me, I just want to say what true justice is. True justice and true mercy is what I experienced in the Garden of Gethsemane. I've shared this with you before. Some of you may not have heard it. When remember my brother was aborted, and I had this image given to me. I was just transported into another space where my father and my brother met each other. Presence of this light. I felt like it was the Father. And I just experienced, at the end of it, I just wept and wept. And at the end of it, I just knew it was all about mercy and forgiveness. Mercy and forgiveness. And I can go back to that memory of the incredible mercy that God forgives. No matter what we do, He forgives us. And the mercy that He had on my father, as my aborted brother, who's now an adult, and he were embracing in the presence of light. So I go back to that again and again and again. So true mercy for me is, I remember somebody saying, but if you forgive, they get away with it. Don't they get away with it? Isn't there some justice here? Like, shouldn't they be held to account? And what I'm saying to you today, while you hold that attitude, while I hold that attitude, I still retain all my feelings. I haven't processed all the anger and I haven't listened to myself and processed it. Because that all stays inside of you and it can be stepped on at any time. It's like a wound. Anything similar, it will trigger you off and you walk away around with all of these wounds. So true justice for me is coming to a place of peace and that you overcome whatever's happened in the past that's been unjust, unfair, been shocking, all those stories I just shared. And letting go of any desire to see the person hurt or punished. Because it says about the revenge, those who demand revenge will suffer vengeance. Release them to the one who will be the just judge at the end of time. Forgive the mistakes, then you can ask for forgiveness. Did you hear what I said? Forgive the mistakes. Then you know how to do that now, how you can ask for forgiveness. If you bear resentment, and I used to be a ball of it, How can you ask for healing if there's no compassion in you? How can you pray for forgiveness of sins, of the stuff that you do wrong? Now, all of that's possible when you allow the resentment to come up and you pass it over. You're allowed to identify it and you acknowledge it and you accept it and you gain wisdom's perspective. A young woman, I just heard a story yesterday about a young woman who's got a tumour on the heart. And I thought, and she's got 3 months to live. And as I listened to the story about this young woman, her mother finally, I said, you know what the big block is with a lot of people is they've still got this unresolved hatred, anger, resentment, judgment. All of that blocks them up and it actually goes into their body and creates disease. So, and anyway, she said, it's interesting you say that because this young woman is full of hatred. So if you're full of hatred, make sure you use the three-way perspective and get it up and get it out. And it says, give up your hatred. Remember the commandments and do not bear grudges against your neighbor. Okay, because he overlooks our offense. And in these, by the way, Sirach 28 was the one I just spoke from. Ephesians 4 says, be angry, but do not sin. So you can be angry, but you can join your anger to God and then you can process it. Don't let the devil have a foothold. I'm not letting that happen. And do not utter one bad word. Now, I don't know about you, but I've uttered lots of bad words, or at least I've thought about them. So, I'm just saying to you, if you have those words, don't push them down. Take them to God and say to him, this is what I'm thinking. What do you say? And you gain wisdom's perspective. That's how you overcome the bad words and become an encourager and follow the way of God. I just want to finish on this. Forgive, remember, whatever you may hold, remember you hold it against another so you can be forgiven. And I saw this wonderful image, and I'm just closing with this as I was doing this subject once. And it was like our fists are closed. Remember, it says, do not clench your fists. And it's like we're retaining and holding all of this unforgiveness, all of this resentment, and we hold it. And look what it does to us. The moment we acknowledge it and express it, the feelings, the beliefs in the presence of the merciful one, our hands unfold, our body unfolds. We have an openness to receive mercy, forgiveness ourselves. And I've needed lots of that over my life. And I've received it because I've learned by the grace of God to keep forgiving it because I know how much peace it can give. So I encourage you to do the on-spot forgiveness, deal with your feelings and beliefs, and ask for his forgiveness to flow through you. Thank you for listening.